Okay, so another day of me trading. Just gonna explain what I did here. I marked my areas of liquidity. I had a London low, which I actually recently marked out. I had a high here, which I believe is London highs, and I also had previous day's highs, which was up here. I also had Asia lows here, and I also had our day low here, our Sunday's day low. So, with that being said, I saw price head down immediately at market open, and upon it seeing that happen, I also noticed that we had large buy volume, and after having large buy volume, I went on ahead and entered into a trade. I entered in the middle of this candle, but the main reason why I entered in the middle of this candle was because of the amount of buying pressure we were having, and also since we recently swept the liquidity, which I actually figured out after the trade was over, that we swept a London liquidity I hadn't had marked out. Um, After we swept that liquidity and having a move up, regardless, even if I didn't see it or if I did see it, there was a lot of buy volume coming into the market, and it was overall it was an immense amount. It wasn't like it was something that was to take lightly. If you want to put it that way, it wasn't something to take lightly. Um, Based off of just the candle price action, this candle completely reversed into a wick, and we had volume of almost 3,000. That being said, we had another candle which also was still in that same range within nearing 2 point, which was at 2.3k of volume, and the next candle over we had a 4k, almost 4k volume candle, and I entered in the middle of it mainly because of how much high volume we've been having, and also how much buy volume in general has been going on. So, with that being said, I did enter into the trade. Um, Very funny thing that happened. I decided to scale up in size on my account. The same day I decided to scale up in size on my account, I had a bunch of issues to start off the day. What were the issues? I had my mouse die. My mouse is a wireless mouse. My mouse died right before I was able to enter a trade. So I was trying to charge it. Couldn't find the charger. Ended up using my touchpad. While I was using my touchpad, I entered into the trade, and while the trade was going, I ended up misclicking because, I'm just messing with the touchpad, and ended up misclicking and exiting the trade. After exiting, excuse me, after exiting the trade, I then re-entered into that trade, but because I was already because I was already out of the trade initially, I didn't feel as confident. I did not feel as confident and re-entering into the trade, considering I already took my profits, if you want to look at it like that. I exited here, so as soon as I re-entered, I had to move down, and it was basically a psychological issue. I was already scaled up in size, and I'm already re-entering in that scaled size. So it was definitely an issue with my psychology on this day, mainly because of the inconveniences that had happened, and me trying to kind of enter back into a trade when I've already exited. That makes sense. So I overall just did not want to remain in a. I didn't want to have like a negative influence on my psychology, and I also don't want it to be a bad habit where I exit a trade and having to re-enter again, and just trying to squeeze as much profits as possible. That's not something I want to do. Like I mentioned throughout this entire journaling, I want to focus mainly on consistency. The way I'm looking at it is there all those unfortunate events just tell me that I need to stick to my current scaling plan and not try to deviate from it. I definitely learned my lesson on that. Don't want to scale I don't want to scale too much too quickly, because at the end of the day it could potentially lead to my demise. Because, like I mentioned, this is an evaluation account. This is not real money at the end of the day, right? But with this evaluation account, I have a certain amount I am able to lose until the account is uh, quote unquote failed, right? So obviously, what I want to be able to do is I want to focus on the longevity of the account, and not just the longevity. I want to focus on the consistency and profitability of the account, which is a good thing. And in order for me to focus on that, I'm not going to focus more so on I'm not focused more so on the money side. I'm more so focused on the the actual trading side, seeing the progression and being able to identify, okay, my strategy here is failing itself, and you can only be correct for so long. It's all about, like I mentioned, probabilities. So with it being with having a probabilistic mindset, I have to be aware that I can't always be in a trade or re-entering a trade and so on and so forth. So, yeah. That being said, I just need to understand for myself. I need to consistently a consistent consistence yeah, consistently. That's the word. I need to consistently be reminding myself that the slow progress I'm focusing on is already fast progress, right? I need to keep reminding myself that the slow progress I have been focusing on is already very fast progress, and I don't need to make it faster. I don't need to make myself fall behind because I want to focus on pushing myself forward and, you know, um, increasing to levels where my own capital can't even manage, right? So, best thing for me to do is to calm down, remain at the current size I'm in, continue with my slow progress, because, like I've mentioned, the slow progress is already fast progress. I don't need to rush myself. I have no reason to rush myself in this. And if I do rush myself, it's going to affect me psychologically. Then I'm basically all the way back to square one, where I have to focus on where I have to focus back on psychology, and I have to focus on, refining my strategy and so on and so forth. I obviously don't want to go back to square one. I want to be able to have it's not a linear progression, but more so a progression where we have more highs than we do lows, or a higher low and higher highs, if that makes sense. Basically, what happened here in the market today, if you want to look at it in a market perspective, what I'm looking for from myself is that we have a basically a progression that looks similar to this. Uh, just have a visual for myself. This is the type of progression I would be looking for. Is I want to have, obviously I'm going to have those lows, I'm going to have those highs, but I want to be able to consistently have that progression where it's slow progression. Even though that it's slow progression, it's still the type of progression I'm seeing and I'm able to react off of, in a sense of, okay, I can see myself from back here. I've progressed so much already, and this inconvenience that I've went through, or this unfortunate event that I went through, is only part of the process, right? So the unfortunate event or inconvenience I went through today is only part of the process, and it's just a slip up that I cannot it's a slip up that I cannot continue doing. Um, I attempted to make my progress faster, and overall, it doesn't work like that. I don't need to progress any faster. All I need to do is take my time and understand that no matter what happens, the progress I'm making is already fast progress. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.